morning, my friends. How are we doing today? Hopefully you had a good, relaxing weekend and had a chance to play some Star Trek Fleet Command. In today's video, I want to talk about spend events and the general, monetization that I see in the game and some of the problems, some of the frustrations that I've had. And I've noticed this over time, so this isn't a new thing. It does seem to be getting worse, in my opinion. And I just want to kind of put a video out there, unscripted video, just put a video out there to talk about some of the frustrations and pain points and where I can see some tweaks or changes to be made. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Helps to grow the channel out. Really appreciate all those who have subscribed. It really helps me out to help more people out and give me a little bit of the resources to be able to do some of the things that I want to, like battle pass giveaways and trying to save right now, balance out what I can do in the channel with saving for a new machine, so a new computer machine, so I can have a better job doing streaming and making videos, things like that. So anyways, appreciate all your support. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about spend events specifically. And we know this is a heavily monetized game, and I don't want this video to be one to shame the spenders whatsoever. Just trying to be an advocate for you all, for the players. I know there's a significant number of players who are not big spenders in the game. There's players who spend just either zero or just get the $20 battle pass each month, and that's fine for them. So never want to shame anyone for how you decide to use your resources. As long as you have the money to take care of your family still and your needs, and this is your entertainment budget, and you feel like it's something you're gonna enjoy and fun out of, then by all means, go for it. Won't shame you at all. But I want to talk about balance, I guess, here, because I think there's a lot of pain points with the material spend events that the common everyday player who doesn't spend a lot in the game has frustrations with. And I want to be an advocate for the players because the players matter. All right, so let's talk about the spend events. So I want to start first looking at Archer. And these are just a couple examples I pulled from recent spend events to show you the total cost. So for me, as a level 56 player, and you can get this, by the way, if you go to stfc.space, you click on events, and then you can type in the search field there, Archer, or whatever you want to look up, and then you have to find the event, the date that it ran. So helpful information here. But Archer, you get 5, 15, 30, 50 shards if you complete the heroic, and that's 10 million points. I remember a day when it was 1 million points, and I don't think they ran every single weekend. I think it was 2 to 3. Was it? Oh, it was like once a month, and then they moved up to 2 times a month, and then, well, it's every single weekend we would spend event. So Archer, 10 million points. If we go and look at Phlox, who was also part of that kind of same arc at level 56, it's now 13, almost 14. So it's, a 30%-ish increase. 10 to 13 would be 30, 10 million to 13 million would be 30%. So it's close to that. 15, 30, 50. So for the same number of shards, whether you thought Phlox or Archer was more valuable, it doesn't matter. We're just looking at the cost of the events, right? So that's gone up significantly. The biggest jump here is the most recent one, where as a 56 player, double the cost of Archer. I would argue that he's not near as valuable to the everyday player as Archer. As Archer is. See a lot of value for him in the Zindi loop to really help with that. But seriously, 20 million points. Now, one thing we do have to note here is that you get 15 is 30, plus 30 is 60, plus 30, yeah, a total of 60 shards here. So you're getting a few more shards, so that has to equate into the calculation here. We also probably need to consider, how much resources are being given in the game. How many resources are being given in packs? Now, Scopely typically has valued their epic officers at $400. It's just been a standard in the game for a long time now. And so we'd have to consider, are they giving more resources and more materials so that you can complete the spend event? If I'm spending a G5 uncommon material, that's 90 points. And if we go down here, so 19,900,000 divided by 90. So to complete the event, you have to spend at my level, and this is just, it's not looking at rare epics or any of the other grades of materials, right? But you have to spend 221,000 materials to finish this event. And that's for half an unlock. Right, I think he's 120 shards. Let's double check. I think he's 120 shards. They're not all the same, but I'm pretty sure that when I looked at it before, he was 120 shards. Yeah, 120. So you'd have to complete this event. If it's giving you 60 shards, you'd have to complete it twice. So this month, to unlock him, you'd have to have 2 spend events. You'd have to complete this twice for, what, 440,000 materials? That's fine. So if we make an assumption in this video that we're getting enough sourcing through all the different loops from the refinery, that's debatable, from the events themselves, from all the different sources, right? If we assume that we actually get all the resources, we have to also assume that we have the capability to spend the uncommon or rare or epic materials on whatever it is, whether it's base, what else? Your research or your ships, right? So here is kind of my, I guess, frustration with all of that, right? So when I look at research, let's hop into research. And I'll try and find some further on down the road, or down the line. Where do you want to put that? Let's look at some of these. So that right there, no uncommons. That right there, no uncommons. I'd have to look at these in detail, but no uncommons. That, in order for me to spend the uncommons, I also have to spend commons. So 15,000, I'm gonna have to spend 185,000 latinum convert to do that. That is gonna burn through all my latinum like crazy. This one, 4 stars, so I have plenty, so that's pretty good. Okay. So that's 5 star, but once again, I'm burning through my commons, and I need commons for other things too. So I have to balance out where am I going to spend it. Now look, I have 227,000 ore. I could spend that if I decide to do so. Oh, there's another one. Look, commons. And these are upper level. See, that's all common. So the problem, or I guess the point I'm trying to get at here, is that there's a lot of things in the game that you have to spend commons on at the same time as you're spending uncommons. And the same thing goes for ships. The same thing goes for your base. And so you really have to be selective. I personally have a decent amount of latinum. Now let's be honest here. If we clear this out here, I have a max Fisha. And at my level, I get 40,000 latinum a day from the Fisha. And let's say that we're looking at between arcs, there'll be a little bit more time, but between spend events, let's just use that as a standard. That, and I should be adding to the calculation too, and this doesn't happen every day, but let's be ultra lean towards the side of luck and RNG in the game. But because I have a couple of primes and I've really worked on my officers, there's an away team's mission, and I don't know if I have it going right now. If I do, I will show it to you. I do. Perfect. Okay. It's most days I have one running, but not all the time. Because of my officers and I've worked in them, I guarantee 100% to get 30,000 latinum. So I've got Riker, Troy, and Eurydice. And all of those officers are max, by the way. Okay, so if we made an assumption that I get 40,000 Latinum from the Fisha and 30,000 Latinum, let's say I got it every single day, that's what, 70,000 times 7? That's not bad. 490,000 Latinum, right? But as we saw in that one research, let's go back to the galaxy tree. I think it was one of those combat ones. It was blue. Let's find it. Scrolling. I think it was armor piercing, wasn't it? No, that one just had commons. There we go. So 185, and I think I had 2 of these I could do. 185. I spent 185,000. That's not quite half, maybe a third. A little bit over a third, 37% of the Latinum that I was able to get for that week. It would be over half if I did 2 of the researches. That would only get me spending about 10,000 of the uncommon. So you see the problem there? Do you guys feel that? Do you all feel that? Same problem where you're having to spend tons of Latinum just to get to the uncommon. Now, those that didn't have any uncommon, you have to get through those as well. So you might be spending, if you have a 100-day research, pull up the handy dandy calculator one more time, which are frequently have 100-day researches, times 300 Latinum per day's worth of research, because that's how the cost is, 300 Latinum for 1 day's worth of research. 30,000. So you do 10 of those, that's 300,000. So you see the point here is that you have to balance out, where am I spending my Latinum? Am I spending on speed ups? Am I spending on commons? You can quickly burn through your Latinum to the point that you can't spend that 200,000. There's just no way. Even half that was difficult, I think, for a lot of players because of those reasons that I just outlined. And why am I having this video? Why am I having this discussion? Because officer sourcing this game is the worst. And if you don't unlock officers during that initial period when they're being offered in those spend events, that you might be 3, 6 months, a year before you're able to unlock those officers. Now, maybe a year is a little bit of exaggeration. I don't know. It depends how much you're able to spend. But there's significant hurdles besides just the uncommons that we're talking about. If we hop into a pack, and I want to go past, I want to just find a building one. And you can look at different packs and you can give an argument one way or another, I know, but let's just open up a regular building pack and see what it has in there. And this is one thing I wanted to emphasize. So let's go with this first one, the Ultra. Maybe there's better ones out there. So a couple things it is giving. It's giving common, which you're getting in the pack. You're getting uncommon, you're getting rare, you're getting resources, you're getting materials. So if you buy a couple of these, then you're going to be pretty well set on the commons and not having to burn through your Latinum that you're just saving through the game, right? Well, this one pack gives you 3.6 million Latinum, and it's giving you a ton of these speed ups. So if you're a spender, once again, not a problem. Once again, not shame, just pointing out for the everyday player that the everyday player who's not spending does not get these speed ups, and they do not get this extra Latinum in the game that may be needed to get past some of these hurdles. What are some other issues that I see as far as spending goes? Personally, and I'm just sharing from my personal experience, I found it difficult to get past some of these hurdles. So that is one reason why I have heavily focused on ships in the game, is because ships are easy to spend on. Mostly. You still have that same issue. Right now, I'm having some issues with not having the rare. And I have spent, because this may not be the perfect example, but with this being a battleship, I spent some on the cube. What if we swap out to maybe a lower level ship? Let's have a look at the Valdor. So pretty easy to spend materials on. Look, I can spend 4,000. If you have the parts and you have the materials, then you're golden. So that's 4,000, another 4,000 I could probably spend pretty easily on. But ships, generally speaking, as long as you have the parts, you're going to have a pretty easy time in the early tiers to spend on. Parts will be your bottleneck. And then what's also going to be a bottleneck are these rares. You may very well have the uncommon for it, but you may not have the rares. Something else that you're going to struggle with, I think, I've seen this, is that in order to get, I'll show you some of my Novas, why I haven't really tiered them up, is look, more common, tons of common. And then as you go up, you're going to have to spend a decent amount of common materials on your ships in order to spend uncommon. So you have the same theme happening that you see and that we just looked at with the ships that are with the research that you're going to have with the ships. And you have the same thing with the station, that you're going to have things that require commons. Let's look at this one. See, 23,000 commons just to spend 3.3K uncommons. So there's a huge issue here I see that I would like to see addressed in the game, because players can't get the officer sourcing they need during the spend events because they're running the bottlenecks where they can't spend the materials. I've been trying to plan to get to my next ship. Let me scroll down here to the 5-star area, which is where I happen to be. Look, I have a lot, 271,000 4-star. I just haven't been able to spend that on a lot of things. I'm trying to get through some of that, but just have this big stock of it because I can't spend it on ships anymore. And that's kind of been a big focus for me. But if you look, I've got 227 5-star, and this is just uncommons, or 255 gas, 278 crystal. Now I am saving some of this for my next ship. I need commons, I need rares. Big bottleneck for me is just getting past the academy so I can push to my shipyard for the Sanctus, which I will be making a video about, by the way. But my whole rant in this video, right, is that my plea to you all to send a message to Scopely, and my plea to Scopely is this, is that if you want us to be able to feel like we're engaging in the game and feel like we're getting an okay sourcing on some of these officer shards and not spending all of our event store currency just to unlock one epic, huge negative, right? When we feel like we have to do that and we can't get anything else in an event store, or maybe we don't even have enough to unlock an officer and we decide to skip it. But the officer sourcing really struggles because we don't have the common materials, we don't have the speed ups in the game, and it is severely hampering. It's hampered my ability to really do research. So unless you're going to be willing to spend and buy packs in the game, well, the free-to-play, I think, tell me if I'm wrong. In the comments below, tell me if I'm wrong. But I think the free-to-play are mostly free-to-play in the game. If you view this as a huge negative because they can't, they don't have the Latinum, they don't have the speed-ups, they just can't do it every single month. And so if your argument is, let's up the cost to 2 or 20 million, let's double the cost. We think they have the resources to spend, resources and materials to spend on this. I would argue that they don't, or a lot of players don't, and it really is viewed as a negative. So that's basically it today. Just my thoughts on the different reasons why spend events are so hard, so difficult, and have such a negative viewpoint from the players. Is that while we may have the resources and materials, we don't have the speed ups and we don't have the Latinum, which once again, I'm going to mention this real quick, but I have mentioned how awesome the Disco or Discovery event is each week, that it gives you a decent amount of one-day speed ups. But I've gotten to the point where those one-day speed ups really don't mean that much to me anymore. Now, there are ways to farm. You can argue that there's ways to farm speed ups, but maybe not everyone has time for that. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear from you all on what you feel, if you're feeling the same pain points that I am, and if you have any positive recommendations that you would recommend that we add to the game. as players, let's get that word out both in the comments below and also send messages into Scopely saying, hey, these are some pain points. Here's where we need some changes in order for us to feel like we're actually competing and playing in the game. Otherwise, players like me, I may have to start making some decisions on just not participating in the spend events because they're just not feasible for me anymore. So we'll see. May have to try for some of the more beneficial ones, but we'll just have to see how it goes over the next couple months, and if Scopely takes any value in our comments of how expensive the spend events have become over time. So anyways, thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time.